This was not a good period in your life.
You know about this?
Nothing good happens in Colombia.
No.
What kind of operations?
Drug networks.
Do we extradite to Colombia?
Yeah, the internet's forever. And I don't know if this interview with Shawn Ryan and Megyn Kelly, and for that fact, even some of the other ones where he's talked about some of his antics as being a former Navy SEAL and CIA agent, but more in particular of this video, we're going to be discussing what he does after. Now, I'm not here to throw stones. I'm here to make observations. People willfully have given out information publicly. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a federal judge or anything like that, but I think it's important to talk about because if you've been paying attention to the news.
Second strike on a boat they allege carried illegal drugs.
Now, that's what we're talking about today because Venezuela has been a major issue in the news with President Trump, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, and all of the drama of double tapping and all of this other stuff.
I did not personally see survivors, but I stand because the thing was on fire. It was exploded in fire or smoke. You can't see anything. You got digital. This is called the fog of war. This is what you in the press don't understand.
Let's look at what Shawn Ryan had to say to Megyn Kelly as his involvement back in the 2010s.
This was not a good period in your life.
You know about this?
Nothing good happens in Colombia.
No, nothing good does happen in Colombia.
No, I do know a little bit about your troubles. And that was a rough period for you. Explain why and why Colombia.
Well, originally I went to Colombia because when I had joined the SEAL teams, I had always wanted to go to Team 4 because I wanted to do the counter-drug ops. Well, then, 9/11 kicked off, obviously, and that wasn't a focus at all. And so when I was in the agency, I'd broken up with a girlfriend, and so I decided I wanted to travel, and I was just infatuated. I mean, those were all the documentaries I was watching when I went to the recruiter. That was the only thing going on at the time was Panama and kind of the counter-drug situation down in South America, which a lot of that was in Colombia.
Since documented in shows like Narcos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I decided I wanted to go check it out down there. And so I just kept going back all the way past my time at the agency. But then it turned into, we had just kind of spoken about addiction to adrenaline. And so I was going down there doing a lot of stuff that I shouldn't be doing, cocaine. And then once I left the agency, I kind of started building a network down there. And it was exciting to me. I was in overseas, building my own network, kind of felt like I was kind of running my own operations.
So I want to be clear here. He is talking about running a drug ring. He's not saying, oh, I'm trying to catch bad guys. He's not saying, oh, I'm here to try and infiltrate and act like some kind of vigilante in regards to being on his own without having any top cover from the CIA or from the Department of Defense at the time as a Navy SEAL. He is operating on his own accord. And what's crazy is Megyn Kelly in this interview actually confirms that and says, wait. You're operating on your own? Check this out.
What kind of operations?
Drug networks. Drug networks.
That was dumb.
And so I wanted to see how deep into the kind of narcos network I could get myself. But
this was not for crime fighting.
No, this was
for crime committing.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
You're a wild man.
So I kind of started at street level and built a network out and went to clubs and met people and found my guys and started testing cocaine and finding the best stuff and I found it. And that lasted for...
He says all over South America. He does not mention Venezuela. However, if you are not a great geography person, you go look at Google. Guess what the next door neighbor to Colombia is? Venezuela. these countries, the borders, they mean things, but they really don't mean much. I'm just being honest. You're hopping from one place to the next. And really, we know these cartels are essentially what dictate what moves, what doesn't move, because what comes down to it is just the dollar.
I mean, it was really, I got a lot of satisfaction out of the adrenaline and just seeing how much I could embed myself into these different cultures. And so then I started flying all over South America. I started going to Peru and starting to build network there, in Dominican Republic and Panama, all over Colombia, all over the country, and Costa Rica. And then I started looking up the most dangerous places you could go in the world. And at the time it was San Pedro Sula, Honduras. So I went there and started, I didn't get very far there, but that was my life for several years.
Wow. And the product was cocaine, and you would find what, like would-be dealers, people to distribute it?
I would find dealers,
make it.
And then I would find their dealers, and then I would find where their dealers get their stuff, and I got to a pretty high level.
It's a miracle you weren't killed.
It is a miracle. This is what I do for a living, though, and so
That's true. You had some pretty superior training.
I was pretty good at it and pretty fearless at the time.
So when you're talking to your old Navy SEAL buds or Blackwater buds, and you're down there, and they're saying, "What are you up to?" What were you saying?
I would just tell them.
I've crossed over to the other side.
I wouldn't tell them exactly what I'm doing, but they knew. Everybody kind of knew, I started losing friends. I know the conversations were like, oh yeah, he's down in Colombia and nobody really hears from him anymore. And I would resurface every once in a while. Sometimes guys would come down to see me. They wouldn't last very long. They would head back out immediately. And it got to be very dark.
He's telling you he's talking to Blackwater. He's talking to old SEAL team guys, which, by the way, probably are in 3-letter agencies, which could include DEA, FBI, all these other things as well. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, so you have buddies that know you're running drugs and no one did anything? We're going to get to why this is all important at the very end of all this, because this is a very incriminating from, armchair quarterback here. I was just like, wow, to admit this on such a large platform was insane.
And, I OD'd down there a couple of times. And, I told you the only reason I made it through Buds was I didn't want to let my parents down. And I sure as hell didn't want my parents to get a notice weeks later that their son had OD'd on cocaine in a penthouse in Colombia. And who knows how long that would take to even get to them. And
before you begin that path to redemption.
Yeah.
What got you there? What made you establish residency in Colombia and go all over these countries, the most dangerous countries on earth, to mess with other people's drug rings? My God, right? It's like playing with plutonium for a living.
Yeah.
And be so reckless with your life and your well-being.
I just didn't value life anymore. I didn't care. I had expected to die down there. And then when I got close, I realized there's a lot more to life than this. And so I cleaned it up. And truth be told, that was kind of an awakening, but I wasn't 100% ready to shut it down. Mm-hmm. And then I had built quite the network down there, and I got tipped off that the federal police in Colombia were surveilling me and people that I was with. And so I E&E'd out of the country.
What's E&E'd?
That means I abruptly left. Oh. And I did kind of we call them an SDR, but surveillance detection route. And I wanted to see if they were surveilling me, if I was walking around town. And so I got rid of everything, cleaned everything up. And went to an internet cafe, booked myself some tickets to a couple different places, jumped on one, and left the country.
Came
Never
back
came
stateside?
back. Yeah.
Do we extradite to Colombia? Just asking for a friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
CIA has been known to be working with other governments and things like that, and there's a lot of people that talk about the weirdness that goes on there. It's no secret that there's a lot of interminglings, and this is very suspicious. They probably got tipped off that Shawn was working with somebody through a CIA agent or whatever. Like, he was intimately involved. Like, how do you go from being part of this to being intermingled in these internet workings, and then you show up the next day and you're like, guys, I'm in on it. I'm ready to make $1. I'm ready for that. Watching that back a year later and reflecting on today, we are in what is probably one of the most heated issues we've had in the past couple decades with South America, beyond just drug interdiction and trying to get things out of the water and, using our Coast Guard to protect our borders. On top of that, our own borders on the Texas border and various others that have essentially become free roam. And obviously we know that caused increase of things coming across as well. What I find really interesting is how people are praising him like he's changed his life around. Now let's talk about that. He has found religion and God, and obviously that's a huge part of his life now.
Is your Lord, and he's been raised from the dead.
Yes, I do.
It's because of your confession of faith in Jesus that I baptize you in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
So I'm not here to judge him on that aspect, but I will say it is interesting to correlate this with some of the issues and stats that we've talked about. Some of that being the CDC. And that is because if you look at their overdoses that they've seen, they have been from a rise from the early 2000s all the way up to 2020. And so I'm like, Shawn Ryan was part of that. Now, we do know that there are people that have been thrown in federal prison and other situations legally that they've been involved with crimes like this just by being the dealer. Now, while yes, I can say most of that stuff came from Mexico and turn a blind eye that somebody has now become very religious and also very good friends with some top elite people. And this includes being able to interview the, now President Donald Trump. It is quite interesting that now that none of this really matters. It's like, yeah, I admit that I did drug trafficking, which is a federal crime. I admit that I was not in a good spot, but I'm better now. And we could say was a contributing factor indirectly to many Americans losing their lives. And that's been something that we should talk about. I would love to say all is well, wrap it up, cool, he's changed his life. But, I also want to say there's a lot of people that end up in prisons that do not get this kind of treatment or are able to move on and just say they found God and read a Bible once or twice. So I want to link this back to current day. A lot of these people are not operating in silos on their own, like Shawn is saying. And it's very obvious that people are looking at this from two different perspectives. This girl, Carol Jade 007, says, totally get it. Addiction isn't just using drugs. It's much deeper. I so respect this man. His candidness. John McCallum 7935 says, good man who can talk straight about his past. However, all those great comments about Shawn are now kind of only shadowed by one singular comment where I'm like, is anyone else going to call the spade a spade? For example, Proud Capitalist says, an ex-SEAL team member, an ex-CIA operative, adrenaline junkie who got sucked into the drug business. Is this surprising to anyone? Adrenaline is a powerful drug in itself. And someone corrected him below that and says, chose to be in, not sucked in. But I'm addressing all of this just to bring up the question, just the question, not that there should be action, but kind of the understanding or the line determination of what is the timeline in regards to statute of limitations. As far as I've researched, there is none for drug trafficking and major things that are like this. And then I'm like, okay, well, if there isn't one, then what is the other process that is here? Because you have someone that's admitted to being part of that. And I'm like, I'm sure there's something out there. But I want to know what you guys think about this. Where are we at with this situation? Because does being a former Navy SEAL and ex-CIA member give you enough leeway to say you can get a pass afterwards and, be part of the problem? I don't know. But let me know what you guys think about this down in the comments below.